What's going down, D-Gens? Sorry to keep you waiting. So bad news. Last week I did post a video. It didn't get published, and unfortunately I didn't really notice it until today. So somebody did message me. I apologize I didn't get back to you, but I did see it. Sorry about that. It's just been kind of a hectic week. But honestly, it kind of worked out that you guys didn't follow or I didn't post it because I went like 5-7, which sucked. But the props were still, hitting for the most part. My money lines hit. It's just usually my bread and butter is totals, and I went 0-4 in totals. So that was terrible. But let's get back onto it for this week, and we can kind of skip that since you didn't get posted. But this week I'm going to keep it short and simple, guys. And you know what? Sorry, I did post a short last week, which was George Kittle over his yardage. I don't know how many of you got a chance to see that, but it hit, and that was on a Thursday night, so that was good. But for this week, we got 4 plays. I'm keeping it short and sweet. We're going to have the Bengals minus 5.5. Bengals are playing against the Browns. It is a divisional team. I'm fully aware of that. I know that the Bengals typically have a hard time against the Browns. That's all historical context, and that's great, and it's important for us to know that and kind of keep it in mind. But I will tell you, this week, or this year and this week, is very different from the Browns from really any other year prior. Yes, the defense has been good, and it is still good, but the Browns are just historically bad on offense, and I mean that in the most literal sense. I mean, Deshaun Watson is one of the worst quarterbacks of all time if he were to just hang it up today for this year. The Bengals, yes, we saw them struggle against the Giants last week. They put up 17 points, and one of those was a touchdown that just really kind of, happened at the end of the game. Wasn't super important. But the Giants' defense has been playing very solid. The Giants are still playing for something because the NFC East hasn't really been decided just yet. The Browns, for all intent and purposes, I mean, they're pretty much out of this here. They have 1 win, and they are in one of the toughest conferences. The Bengals are all obviously also with 1 win. I'm sorry, 2 wins now that they beat the Giants. And even though it's only a 1-game difference, it feels like a world of difference because the Bengals struggled early like they always do. They had Jamar Chase with, signed late and not showing up to practice. T. Higgins didn't get back from his injury until, the 3rd week. So a lot of that stuff just kind of just now rounding into form. So I do think you're going to see the Bengals get even better. And the Bengals have been able to put up a pretty decent amount of offense typically. Last week against the Giants, like I said, I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Giants defense. They get a lot of pressure, and so that's something that's, it makes it a lot harder for teams, especially a guy like Joe Burrow, who, yes, he wants to, hit his receivers, but typically he has a little bit of time to let them get downfield, and that's kind of the offense they play, is stretching people out down the field. It just didn't happen very much last week, although they did get the win. And it's an ugly game, too. He had an interception that was, in the red zone and some other just ugly turnovers throughout the game on both sides. So, either way, all of that, long story short, Bengals can put up points. And if the Bengals can get to even, 17 points in this game, I just don't see a way that the Browns cover this. Yeah, the Bengals' defense is not great. The Browns have shown that they are just inept against any damn buddy. So give me the Bengals minus the 5.5. Next is the Panthers in Washington. Give me Washington minus 8. Jaden Daniels is for real. I've been telling everybody this. I know I got some pushback the last time we had Washington against the Browns. Washington has a very legitimate offense. The guy always goes forward. Pretty much every play is going forward for Washington. The only concern I have in this one is that Brian Robinson may miss this game as well with his injury. Now, the Panthers are one of the absolute worst at guarding the run, so you really want to be able to run the ball here, but Austin Eckler is still there. Not to say that he's going to get the same amount of work that a Brian Robinson would, but he can do some work on the ground. He can get you some yards, get you some first downs, keep the chains moving. Washington in general, I mean, obviously Jaden Daniels is going to run as well, but Washington putting up some points. I think that there are points on both sides of this game here, because Washington has struggled to stop the run, and the Panthers, that is actually something they can do relatively decently. But give me the Washington minus 8, because I think that at some point the Panthers' lack of real depth in offense is going to catch up with them. And secondly, if this turns into a shootout, Washington has at this point, what has proven to be just a better overall team and a defense that can get a couple of stops, whereas the Panthers, they just don't really have a strong point. They, yes, Washington is weak against the run, but they're okay in the secondary. The Panthers are just kind of shit everywhere. So next is Ravens and Bucks. Give me the Ravens -3.5. I do like the over in this game, but I am waiting to see what happens with Mike Evans. If Mike Evans is healthy and playing in this game, definitely give me the over 49. He's dealing with a hamstring injury, so he may not play in this game. If he's not playing, I don't really want to touch the total, although I would still lean over, especially if he's not playing, though. Give me the Ravens -3.5. This game, either way, is going to be touchdowns. It's going to be a shootout. Both teams' strengths are the opposite, or the weaknesses of their opponent. The Ravens really can't stop a number one receiver. They've shown that pretty much all year. And conversely, the Buccaneers have struggled to stop any sort of decent running back. And of course, the Ravens have one of the best, most aggressive running backs in the league right now with Derrick Henry. And on the flip side, the Bucks have Mike Evans or Chris Godwin to take advantage of that Ravens secondary, who doesn't really want to play a lot of coverage right now. So I do see these guys trading touchdown for touchdown. But at the end of the day, the Ravens are going to be the better team with a better coach, better players, better really everything across the board. And yes, you're laying the 3.5, but again, I don't see a whole lot of field goals in this game. This is going to be more touchdowns. So regardless of who wins, it's going to be by a touchdown or more. And so give me the Ravens in that game. And then lastly here is Chiefs at Rams. I really want to just obviously watch this game. But give me over 54.5 receiving yards for George Kittle. The Chiefs' defense has been really good, just stifling everybody, everywhere, all across the field. Running backs, receivers, quarterbacks. The only weak spot that they have is the tight end spot. For whatever reason, they can just get worked across the field by tight ends. We saw it in week 1, even with Isaiah Likely having his big game. A lot of that now looks like it was just the Chiefs struggling to stop the tight end. They just don't have a real matchup there. They don't have a linebacker that can match up with a good tight end. And on top of that, the Chiefs, because they're so good elsewhere and because they get so much pressure, I can definitely see Brock Purdy trying to get rid of the ball early in this one with a lot of short underneath dump-off stuff. The Chiefs are one of the best at guarding the run, and now they're saying Jordan Mason may not play in this game. Obviously, they don't have McCaffrey, so you're going to have to look elsewhere. You're most likely going to end up having to pass, or at least finding yourself in a handful of passing situations throughout the game. And Debo and Ayuk, again, the Chiefs are really good at guarding receivers, as well as not as good as running backs, but they are good. They can get those guys stopped or at least limited. George Kittle is the X factor here. He's going to be the best option that the 49ers have and the quickest option most places for Brock Purdy. So give me George Kittle over 54.5 receiving yards in that game. I do like the game to actually stay under because of that Chiefs defense, as well as the Chiefs offense just not putting up a whole lot of points. And then lastly, I actually like the Chiefs money line in that game as well. Like I said, they're not on the official card, but I'm not going to be surprised if I find myself parlaying those two together. Because if the Chiefs win, it's going to be a low-scoring game. So if you want to do a parlay, want to maybe get a little bit of skin out there, go ahead and parlay the under in that game with the Chiefs money line. Because, again, if they win this game, this is going to be like a 21, 23 to 17 kind of game. If the 49ers win, it could be a blowout. But, again, I'm leaning Chiefs. So that's it for Week 7, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I will speak with y'all soon.